Welcome to the Smiling Souls Seniors Podcast Expert Series. I'm your host Tejasa, and in this series, we bring to you meaningful conversations with industry experts and change makers working to enrich the lives of seniors across senior living, healthcare, wellness, age tech, and more. Every episode uncovers not just their professional wisdom, but also the human emotions, values, and passion that drive their purpose. So let's dive in and explore ideas that make seniors' lives happier, healthier, and more fulfilling. We are delighted to welcome Mr. Sharad Gadsing, a first generation entrepreneur and the visionary founder of Cradle of Life, a senior living community redefining how India perceives aging, dignity, and independence. Sharad's journey began with his father's message, "Don't seek a solution for seniority, build one." With his parents as his first residents, he turned that message into a mission, creating a haven built on compassion, connection, and care.
Hello, namaste, and welcome. We welcome you to the Smiling Souls Seniors Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. Of course, as you can see, he is not a senior, but he works with seniors. He does things for seniors. And he is none other than Mr. Sharad Gadsing, the founder of the senior living community Cradle of Life. Welcome, Sharad.
Thank you, Tejasa. Thanks for the lovely introduction.
So before we understand about the Cradle of Life, we would like to explore your personal journey, your values, your vision, what got into you that you started such a fantastic project.
So, I belong to a typical higher middle class family. My father was a government officer and he used to get transferred after every 3 to 6 years. So, born in Kolhapur and then moved to different cities throughout my childhood. So I stayed in almost 6-7 cities till then, and then around 95 is when we shifted or settled to Pune, and since then we have been into Pune. So that had been my growing journey.
The growing years.
Yeah, growing years.
And फिर आपका college वगैरह आपने यहीं पे किया?
Yes, so we shifted to Pune for my engineering and did my engineering, did diploma in business management from Pune itself.
Great. और फिर क्या हुआ? फिर आप आगे की
So
जिंदगी कैसे बढ़ी?
I always wanted to be into business. So I'm a first generation businessman in my family, and business is something I wanted to be always into. So while I was doing my engineering, I used to work in a company, a small industrial setup. That is where I started, learning what business really is, trying to understand the different functions of business. So I started my first business immediately after I did my engineering. I got an opportunity to be a distributor for Titan Industries. So this
Titan watches.
Yeah, Titan watches. But then I started as a distributor for their spare part and services division.
Oh.
Right, so that was back in 2002. So that's when I started my career.
और फिर क्या हुआ?
वही मतलब जो distribution, trading और retail था, that is where my focus was. 2002 से start किया था till roughly 2015-16 I was into the same business vertical. Wherein I was, I worked with companies like Titan, Tata Indicom, ITC, Vodafone. So I was primarily more into the traditional way of doing business, which was retail and distribution.
Okay.
And 2015 is when we all know that was the startup era in India, and the concept of startup is what excited me. So in 2015, I got into the startup culture, launched a startup. So before senior living, my last venture was a IT app technology startup, a very successful venture that I had, and it's as of now present in more than 20 countries globally.
Seriously?
Yeah. So that was IT, mechanical engineer, then got into distribution, then IT. So I have been into careers or opportunities where my past experience had nothing to do with what I was into.
So how did this whole idea of senior living come to your mind? Who was your inspiration? And tell us that journey.
Okay. So this journey of senior living started, with my own personal experiences. uh, the problem challenges that I saw in my family itself. Right. So my father was an officer and he already had planned his retirement. Since we come from a farmer background, he always wanted to settle into a farmhouse after his retirement. Okay. So he had built a farmhouse in Talegaon, and after retirement, my mom and dad they shifted there. But then, while staying in that farmhouse, they could immediately realize that the life that they wanted and the life they are living, there is a lot of gap in the expectation and the reality. Right. So to give you examples, so my father throughout his career had been a very active and busy person. Right, and suddenly after retirement he could realize that there is nothing to do for him. Right, he had a lot of time, but then nothing to do. That was a bigger challenge or problem that he was facing. The second challenge was, because the department he was into, he used to meet around 200 to 500 people on a daily basis. So he had a very great social circle around his work life as well. And after retirement, most of the social circle just disappeared, right? And in farmhouse kind of isolated living setting, already he had a very limited social circle, right? So he could immediately feel that the feeling of loneliness is what was bothering him. Then next is my mom. She was always a homemaker, and throughout her life, she was all the time busy managing the home, the domestic duties, managing children, and for her, this phase of life was like any other retiree, wherein she wanted to retire from all the duties she had been doing throughout the life, right? And her expectation was after settling there, her life will be easy, it will be more relaxed. But then it turned to be the other way around. Her duties, in fact, increased than getting released, and she was also worried. So this was the parent generation problem. Parallelly, if I look at my generation, so me and my brother, we stay away from my parent, and we were always worried and concerned about their well-being. Right. So if you see, this is not just their problem or our problem, and it's a intergenerational problem. Right. And this you would relate to most of the families in India. Right. And so while we were suffering this, my father started exploring senior living as an option. Right. So he studied, stayed in many facilities in India, few facilities outside India, and then that is when he was totally convinced that this is the kind of lifestyle or facility that he would like to settle into for the lifestyle that he is expecting. Right. So he got convinced, and then while we were sitting, he said, Sharad, instead of looking for a solution, why not build a solution ourselves? Right. So that was So that was the first time we formally discussed about getting into senior living. And then initially I said, okay, he's just casually speaking this, but then he was very consistent in terms of following up with me, and so this actually started with his vision to settle into senior living. But then the land parcel, the opportunity that we had was very suitable to develop a senior living facility of our own, and this is when I started studying about the segment, because I honestly don't come from a real estate or senior living background. Right? So for us, everything was brand new.
Correct.
And this is how the journey started. This was the story how we got into senior living.
This is so fascinating.
And more exciting for me was for this venture I'm into, I've got my parents as my first customers. Right? So that made it even more exciting. And by default it brought in that dedication or passion while I was doing this. Right? And then more I was studying about this segment, I was getting more excited, and that's how the entire thought process evolved.
So even that part is unbelievable, that he actually went to different places in India and abroad. And what kind of time do you think he spent abroad?
So it was almost nothing less than a month he spent outside.
Great.
Because then, once he was convinced about the concept, he just wanted to explore what's happening in India and what's happening outside India. Right? And the best way to, experiment or understand that was to visit this facility, stay with them. Right?
Even you did that?
I did visited a few facilities in India and outside India. But then, since my study started during the COVID period, I had very less opportunities to visit these facilities outside India. Right? But then I had been in connect with the developers, the operators, the residents in these facilities. Few advisors helped me in terms of understanding the policies, guidelines that they follow outside India. Right? Because during the learning stage, I was just capturing everything that will help me to build my venture or the concept.
बट इससे अच्छी और क्या बात हो सकती है कि आपके पेरेंट्स जो यहाँ के पहले आपके कस्टमर भी हैं वो खुद रहकर आए हैं, उन्होंने अपनी रिक्वायरमेंट्स आपको बताई, सो यू नो इट फर्स्ट हैंड दैट दिस इज व्हाट अ सीनियर वांट्स एंड दैट्स हाउ यू बिल्ड इट.
Yes.
So the problems have also come from the family itself, and the solution has also been built in the family.
Right.
Amazing, amazing. I want to keep going back to that point because it really fascinates me how this whole idea has sprung up. So you mentioned in one of your conversations that your parents began living in a farmhouse, but problems khatam nahi hui.
Right.
So that brings me to my next question. What do you think is the biggest difference between living in a regular home or living in your own home versus living in a senior living? Okay? And I want you to answer, you can choose what you want to answer first. What do you think is the biggest problem of seniors?
So let us first understand the significance of a home in a senior's life. So since all these people after a certain age or after they retire, they would be spending most of their time at home, right? So the living environment actually shapes up their life or is the origin for the life that they would lead, right? So I see that the seniors today in a regular housing community are living a compromised life. And there are reasons that I have. So because the homes where they are going to spend most of their time are not specifically designed for that particular age, right? Design for age means understanding the safety requirement, right? The security requirement, the comfort that they want, or the convenience that they want, both in terms of the layout of the home, the fittings specifications that are provisioned in the home. Right, so the homes are not suitable for that particular age. The second factor is, all these individuals hold a very great asset with them, which is time in hand. But then they are always worried or concerned about how do I utilize the time that I have, right? And what you need, for a meaningful utilization of time is a community, and avenues where you will spend with that community doing some meaningful activity, right? But then in a regular housing kind of arrangement, since it's a intergenerational community, you will have very limited like-minded, like-aged people around you.
I quite see what you're trying to say, and if I can sum it up, number one, they have the time but they don't know how to use it because they are probably trying to deal with the day to day problem. अरे आज मेड नहीं आई, अरे आज ये नल नहीं ठीक है, कल को फैन नहीं चल रहा है, टीवी नहीं चल रहा है, and wasting their time,
right.
or rather the time gets utilized in worrying about these things. तो जो उनका रिटायरमेंट का एज था जहाँ पे वो ये करना चाहेंगे जो उन्होंने शायद पहले लाइफ में किया नहीं, ये सोच कर कि हाँ वन डे आई विल डू दिस, पर वो अभी भी नहीं कर पा रहे. आई ऑल्सो अग्री दैट खास कर ये शहरों में होता है वेयर द नेबर्स डोंट नो ईच अदर. सो अगर आप कुछ मान लीजिए आप बैडमिंटन खेलना चाहेंगे, ओके, खेलेंगे किसके साथ? बिकॉज not necessarily you'll have somebody, not necessarily you'll have the whole space and the neighborhood and all of that. तो वो भी आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है. And the third thing is, yes, when you have a community, there is a possibility of more like-minded people
Right.
coming together, so you'll have so much more to share.
Right.
Yeah, so I totally agree. Now,
That was the second part. The third important part is the services offered in a regular. So, in a regular housing, there are, I mean, apart from security and the basic housekeeping, there are no services that are being offered. Right. So you have to depend on external agencies for these services.
Such
So it
as?
can be, the basic convenience services where housekeeping, meals,
yeah.
right. So all the domestic duties you have to depend on the maid or cooks,
Correct.
right? That's a very big problem there. The second is related to the health services, right? So how do a senior keep himself fit and healthy in a regular housing facility? Because a gym fitness center is not meant or designed for seniors,
I agree.
right? Plus, healthcare is not part of regular housing, right? So they always have to depend on the family doctor or external medical facility, and then it only becomes a reactive approach when it comes to healthcare, right? So you can't actually practice the proactive healthcare. You can't have a proactive healthcare approach there. And the worst problem is when it comes to a sudden emergency, right? So in those scenarios, I mean, there is no infrastructure in place. The people around you, even if it's your own family, they are not trained to handle these emergencies, right? And even if you get to call an ambulance, getting the ambulance and transferring you to a hospital again takes so much of time that it can so many times be life threatening when it comes to emergencies.
I totally agree with both these points. One being, I have rarely ever seen seniors in a gym.
Right.
कोई भी लिविंग कॉम्प्लेक्स हो, कोई भी सोसाइटी कितनी भी बड़ी हो, it's normally the youngsters, the teenagers, the adults, and maybe up to even 45, 50. But you hardly see anybody above 60 going there.
So I agree that you mentioned seniors hardly go to the gym. But then we have to understand the reasons why they don't. I mean, they all are, health conscious. They want to be fit. They also have got time, but then they don't utilize the gym facility. If you go to the root cause of it, one is the infrastructure of the gym is more, designed for muscle building kind of exercises. Right? Whereas a senior would typically require strength training or mobility related to exercises. So the infrastructure is not in place. Secondly, for any such activity, you would need a group to motivate you to get engaged or basically they will motivate you to participate in such kind of activities. And since there is a limited companionship, you will always struggle, finding that inner inspiration that I should go to a gym. Right? So these are a couple of things that holds.
Very well put. And as you said, even the thing about emergencies, yes, people are not trained about
Right.
handling emergencies. So yes, absolutely valid point. So it was wonderful knowing about the personal side of you, more as a human being than a person. Let's move our focus to now senior living before we come to Cradle of Life. Why do you think senior living still has a social stigma?
So I think many of them have misunderstood or are relating senior living to old age home.
Old age home, Vruddhashram.
Right.
Huh.
So I think that's the bigger reason why it's still a stigma in our society.
That brings me to the next question. I would like you to categorically differentiate what is a Vruddhashram and what is senior living.
Okay, so old age home is a place where a senior would move out of some compulsion or limitation. It could be either family not looking after him or her, or it could be a financial limitation where they cannot sustain their own lifestyle. Right, so that's the place where such seniors who are facing these limitations or constraints are choosing to go into a old age home or a Vruddhashram. Against that, a senior living facility is where a senior decides to move by choice, where the objective of moving to such facilities is to improve their quality of life, right, or rather live life to the fullest is the objective to come to such facilities, right. So that's the clear differentiator between a old age home and a senior living facility where one falls on the limitation side of it, the other one is a by choice product.
And as you put, one has very limited facilities, one has a plethora of facilities.
Absolutely.
Very well said. Then if this is the fact, फिर ऐसा क्यों है कि सीनियर्स फिर भी थोड़े से मन में कतराते हैं सीनियर लिविंग प्रॉपर्टी में मूव होने से?
So इसके पीछे काफी सारे रीजन है. So the first one is because they are not aware of the true concept of a senior living, the life quality that they can expect out of a senior living. So visibility about the segment is one constraint. The second constraint is the seniors have got very attached to the current living environment, wherein this emotional trap is what is making them ignore the compromises that they are facing in the regular housing societies. The third, I would say, is again on the perception side of it, wherein still a active senior would always feel that he's not moved to that particular age bracket. He doesn't need that kind of facility or want to be surrounded with people of that particular age. But then in reality, a senior should move to a senior living facility during the active stage of his or her life, because that's when they will get to enjoy the true amenities, facilities of a senior living facility.
I quite agree with you कि कम से कम एक इन्वेस्टमेंट करके रखें और जब भी मन करे वीकेंड्स पे जाए या or maybe even give it on rent if that is possible. Right. चलिए थोड़ा सा मजा करते हैं.
Okay, done.
Shall we do a quick rapid fire?
Okay, fine.
ठीक है, आप क्वेश्चंस देख ही नहीं पाएंगे. ठीक है, चलिए. One word that you can describe aging, one word or one phrase that you can describe aging gracefully.
कोई आपको बूढ़ा बोलता है तो आप उसको रिवर्स जवाब देते हो कि बूढ़ा आपका बाप होगा.
अरे वाह, क्या बात है. टी और कॉफी?
Coffee.
Okay, if you had the choice of retiring and spending the rest of your life in one place other than Talegaon, where would it be?
I won't stay at one place for sure.
You will keep changing. Great. What else after Talegaon? Where else?
Goa or Lonavala.
Amazing. Which senior has been your role model in life that you grew up? Okay, I want to be like this one day.
My ideal idol of my life had been Mr. Ratan Tata. I respect him like anything.
What is it one thing that you would like your children to learn from you?
Be creative enough that you give something back to society.
Nice. What is the one thing that you are learning from your kids?
To be more practical than being emotional. I mean, a perfect balance of being emotional and practical.
You've been into other businesses and now senior living. About the time, you would have spent less or more time. How is your wife and your family taking your current stint?
So all of my family members are actually happy that I'm thinking of my own retirement. As in, this venture is not just for my parents, but then this is something I'm building for my own retirement, which will give me that sense of fulfillment. So family is in a way happy with what I'm doing now.
Nice. Your children are proud.
Yes.
Today we are in 2025. Cradle of Life is in Lonavala. Where do you see it being in 2030?
2030, the goal is to expand this to at least 10 cities in India, and in terms of number of unit, the goal is to have at least 5,000 units operational and under construction.
When you turn 60, which Cradle of Life unit or which Cradle of Life city would you see yourself turning 60 at? Celebrating that birthday?
So Talegaon would be my base location because my parents would be staying with me in the same facility, and then I'll keep moving to, let's say, I'll move to Goa for a couple of months to celebrate my life. I'll go to, let's say, a facility which I would have in Kerala for the holistic well-being. On the spirituality side, I have a dream to build something around Rishikesh Haridwar, which would be more towards the spirituality side of it. So I'll just keep experimenting all these different characters, that all these local characters as well as the community character that all these facilities would have.
So I would really like your wife also to watch this podcast sitting with you so that she gets mentally prepared. Okay, I'm going to travel with Sharad wherever he's going and enjoy the whole journey.
Yeah, so Goa is actually her idea.
Ah, nice. So what if your kids don't allow you to actually explore different communities and different cities, and they insist that no, I want you to live with us? What would you do?
So I don't see that as a problem, because the mindset that we have as parents and the mindset that my children have, I don't see any dependency, from either of the generations. Right? So we want our own life, our own freedom, and we also want to give the children their own life, their own freedom. So I don't see any interference when it comes to such kind of decisions from both the generations.
Now let's come to Cradle of Life. What were those values or those few points which you knew that I will never compromise on this, come what may, when I am setting up Cradle of Life?
So these values came initially as a advice instruction from my father. The one was never compromise on the life quality, particularly the health, well-being and life care part of it. Right, so that's something, the overall well-being of the resident is what I'll never ever compromise. That starts with the physical well-being, emotional well-being, the life care part of it. So that is something which surely I won't compromise on. The second one is, so in Cradle of Life, every resident should feel that they are living their best time of their life with us. Right, so we'll be very focused on how do we help them utilize their time in a very meaningful, engaging manner. Right, so where every moment becomes like a celebration of life, every moment is cherished. So that's the environment culture that we want to build at Cradle of Life. So quality of time is something we will not compromise about.
I really like that answer, because even Western countries में जहाँ पे senior living is a very common norm, वहाँ रहने वाले सीनियर्स का ये फिर भी कहना है कि हमें इम्प्रिजन लगता है, मीन्स दे आर कैरिंग द सेम लोनलीनेस दैट दे फेस्ड इन देयर ओन होम इवन ओवर देयर, एंड दैट इज ड्यू टू द लैक ऑफ एंगेजमेंट.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're very right. Okay, I've been wanting to ask you why the name Cradle of Life is such a beautiful name, but what was your thinking behind it?
So while we were studying this segment, what we realized was this product has to go beyond just the care part of aging. It has to also talk about the real life, which is around purpose of life, fulfillment, the freedom side of it. So we see this as a fresh beginning of life, right? And the word Cradle of Life actually resembles a place where life originates.
Wow.
Right? So something similar to what they call Cradle of Civilization. In the similar manner, Cradle of Life is where life originates, where life is nurtured, where life flourishes, and we felt that this is what eventually what we are building. So we found a great resemblance between this phrase and what we are developing.
That's a very fresh outlook. I had thought when I heard the name Cradle of Life, I felt it is about the kind of emotional warmth and comfort जो ममता होती है.
That's again one of the aspects of the name that we have chosen. So Cradle always resembles the early stage of life, where you feel belonged, you feel cared about, you feel pampered.
And
right?
cuddled and hugged.
Yes. So that's again one of the aspects.
Very nice.
That we can say.
So what are the 4 elements of your logo?
So the 4 elements of the logo actually resembles the 4 core values of the brand, or the promises that we want to deliver to our residents. So these 4 elements of the core values of the brand are freedom, purpose, health and happiness. Right. So while we are talking about a great quality of life for our residents, these are the core values that we'll focus upon, which will in turn deliver a great quality of life for our residents. So the logo those four elements actually represent the four core elements that the brand is talking about.
Lovely.
Based on.
So now I would like to ask you, what are those unique, absolutely unique features of Cradle of Life which you don't normally see in the other senior living facilities?
So I think we are very different at the core and DNA level. If we have to talk about the homes that we have, the starting with the unit configurations, the space optimization part of it, to giving customers choice to select their living preferences, right? So it's all about giving them a freedom to choose their home based on their living preferences, the size that they want, the budget that they are looking for. Going ahead, we have given both the options where they can either choose to buy the home or rent the home. The second biggest USP is, we have provision lot of amenities as compared to any other single living facility, both in terms of the space provision for activities to the variety of activities that we will be conducting, right? And while provisioning this, what we have done is we have decentralized all the amenities. So these are not, concentrated at one single location, because we believe that in such kind of arrangement the accessibility becomes very critical, and then the amenities are not being used to the effective manner, right? So you will find amenities, activities, spread across the tower. You will find one activity area on every floor of our tower, right? So we have brought in the amenities closer to the resident so that they will be more accessible. The utility will be more efficient since these are accessible. That's the second part of it. The third part is the operating model. So we are tying up with different industry experts. Like we have Smiling Souls to be our community engagement partner, because you understand your domain the best, right? Whatever best I try, I can't reach to a level where Smiling Souls is today. So likewise, we have identified the key service verticals. So we have got a healthcare partner in place who is an expert in senior proactive preventive healthcare. Then we have got a hospitality, facility management partner, community engagement partner. Likewise, we'll have, let's say, a catering partner. That's a very unique operating model that we have, implemented in our facility. And this is to ensure that the services are top notch, because these are all industry experts. It actually becomes a performance oriented model, because everybody to remain in the business should have to perform to the expectations of the residents, right? So that's on the operating side of it. So very different things that we have implemented, and fortunately all of these are being very well accepted by the customers, because they see value, relevancy in what newness we are bringing to the segment.
Yeah, I quite like these 2 points. One is, I absolutely, when I saw the model and when I saw the kind of space that you're dedicating, even I felt for a moment so much space, and you could have easily converted that into another flat or maybe more. So that was, I like that. Personally, I love that. So specialists taking care of their own speciality and doing the best job that they can. Yeah.
Because we have to understand that senior living is not just about the real estate part of it. The most important part is services. And the services have to be very high in terms of quality.
Yes, and I'm imagining, my parents or anybody in that place, for them to be uprooted from where they are,
Right.
and to be here, it has to be such a seamless
Yes.
process, and from day one they should feel, oh, this is my home and this is such a brilliant place, and I'm so welcome, and I'm significant, I'm important, there are people who to whom I matter. So all of these things, yeah, they really mean so much. So when is the first batch of your senior customers going to start living here?
So we are targeting, so we have got 2 towers. The first tower we are targeting to be operational by June 26. So roughly a year from now is when we'll have our first batch of residents coming and staying with us.
Great. I think the 9-10 month period is going to still be a little I'm sure they're going to wait very desperately to move in over
Yes,
here.
yes. They are already desperate, like they're behind me in terms of how I can expedite this entire construction thing.
Very nice. So Sharadji, I think you already know what we believe is the best thing for seniors, or we want this for the seniors, and we always tell all our members कि आपकी जो ज़िंदगी भर की हसरत रही है, या जो आप सोचते थे एक दिन मैं ये करूँगा, ये एक दिन मैं सीखूँगा, या वो एक दिन मैं करूँगा, वक्त होगा तो, सो वी वांट ऑल दोज ड्रीम्स टू बी रियलाइज्ड इन दिस स्टेज. और दूसरी चीज़ जो हम कहते हैं, those things that you did in your childhood and gave you maximum happiness, please do them now again. So how do you resonate with this? What do you plan to do for the seniors on an everyday basis when they come here?
So yes, totally agreed that this stage of life is about fulfilling those bucket list items. So Tejasa, you rightly figured it out. The campus life, the community life is the key, aspect of having a great quality of life. And when I say that, every individual would have different interest, right? My interest would be different, your interest would be different, right? So the amenities, the infrastructure has to be supportive of catering to these different interest factors. That's one. Second is what I've learned about Smiling Souls is you also have got programs to address these different interest categories.
Correct, yes.
Right, and that's where I see that synergy where at the infrastructure level we build spaces suitable for that interest, and so we are like a hardware, you become a software, and then together it works for the betterment of our residents.
So I can't wait to see your seniors coming in and the community just getting wider. It doesn't matter if it's the Cradle of Life community or the Smiling Souls community.
And then Tejasa, there is one more important point that I want to mention about this kind of relationship is, if I had to manage the events activities on my own, right, I'll limit my residents to be connected with my own community. But then when we talk about associating with you, my community, your community, as in Smiling Soul members, they become part of the larger community, right? And that is where you make them part of a larger community than the community they are living day in, day out. That's again a very important aspect of this association.
I totally second this point, and I have yet another aspect. When the seniors living in one ecosystem meet the seniors outside, visions get broadened, they see possibilities. Somebody could be, for example, meeting some challenges daily and yet being positive. So that's a learning of a grown community. Also, the seniors who are non-residents may start changing their perspective. That senior living is such a happy place to be in.
Yes.
That's the first benefit. And the second benefit is the manpower that is required for every different activity at your end. Imagine the kind of resources that you will need and the kind of expenditure that you would be making on that. And that just leverages on each other's strengths.
Absolutely. So the way I see, the model that you are into, what you are building is a virtual community of like-minded people. Right? We are a on-ground community of like-minded people, and then so it doesn't matter whether it's a physical community or a virtual community. Right. The whole objective or the whole intent is to bring these like-minded people together. Yeah. Right? If that's the objective, I think then such collaboration should happen within the industry. It can be, even one senior living community, collaborating with another community, because then the objectives are aligned, the core values are aligned, where we talk about building these like-minded communities than just building the physical product itself.
Very, very well said, and I couldn't have agreed more. I cannot even put into words how excited I am, the entire team of the Smiling Souls, is to see the Cradle of Life coming to life in next June, and also very, very, very happy and excited to start this collaboration together and be your engagement partner. So thank you so much.
Likewise, I'm equally excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A big thank you to all our viewers and listeners for listening to our perspectives. And both of us really hope that this sharing of thoughts, or this podcast, will add to one more dimension to your thinking and get you one step closer to a life full of happiness, freedom, health, hope, and let's rock every single day of our lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Smiling Soul Seniors Podcast Expert Series. We hope today's episode has left you inspired and reflective. Our podcast now reaches listeners in more than 25 countries across 30 plus platforms. Thanks to your continued love and support. For more such conversations with experts and thought leaders, don't forget to like, share, and follow the Smiling Soul Seniors Podcast channel on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Gaana, JioSaavn, Hungama Music, and many more. So until next time, stay connected, inspired, and keep smiling with the Smiling Soul Seniors Podcast. Thank you.